shall not want. I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, Jehovah Rohi means the Lord is my shepherd. And David wrote this song, and I'm like, God, why did he choose shepherd? Now, he's a shepherd boy, but he was so many other things. He was a great warrior. He could have said the Lord was my commander-in-chief. He was a great leader. He could have said the Lord was my king, but he said the Lord is my shepherd. And when I started to depict what a shepherd was, a shepherd is someone who tends, feeds, and guards his flock. And he leads them, he feeds them. And when he said that the Lord is my shepherd, he depicts himself as a sheep. And sheep are weak. Sheep are the only domestic animal that cannot live without a shepherd or by itself. It needs somebody to lead them. And I'm like, it can't survive by itself. And I'm like, God, he depicted himself as a sheep after all the great stuff that he did. And I was like, God, okay, now what else happened? And he was like, I was like, a shepherd. And shepherds are very simple people. They're very simple people. And when he told me that, I was like, there were so many great people in the Bible that were shepherds. Abraham was shepherd. Jacob was a shepherd. The tribes of Israel were shepherds. And I'm like, God, these great people in the Bible were shepherds. And I'm like, there has to be something to this. And as he started to go along, I was like, okay, a shepherd. A shepherd knows two things very well. They're very simple, but he knows two things very well. He knows the land that he walks, that his sheep walk, and he knows his sheep.
Yes, he does.
And I was like, okay, God, you know the land that we walk, and he knows the sheep. That's why we're portrayed as sheep. He knows us. He knows the life that we live. He knows the way that we take. That's why we're portrayed as sheep. And I was like, God, he feeds us. And he's like, yeah, I feed him. See, there's a time called something called, let me get it right, something called spring rain. There's a season in Israel, and it stops raining after February, and they don't get any more rain until December. And see, sheep are very fearful creatures. I didn't know this. They're very fearful creatures. They won't lay down unless they know that they're safe. They won't drink out of rushing waters. That's why he has to lead them by still waters. Unless he knows that, unless they know they're safe, they'll keep wandering. They won't stay still to even feed themselves because they don't feel safe. And I was like, God, okay, wait a minute. And so as I continued to go forth, and I was like, okay, God, they're fearful, they won't lie down. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, that's why, he leads them towards the quiet waters. That's what a good shepherd does. And he leads them up and down the mountains. And I'm like, okay, well, what happens? That's the good picture. And David said, this is who he is to me. This is why I depict him as a shepherd of my life. Because he feeds me. He does all this for me. He cares for me better than I can care for myself.
That's right. Amen.
And so I'm like, okay, God. And as we go along, that was the green pastures. But then we go to the valley of death in verse 4 or 5. And the thing that I like so much about David is that he just doesn't depict the good things in his life. He tells us how to walk through the trials in our life. The valley of the shadow of death. Now, David had some enemies.